Hello, my name is Emmett McConnell, and welcome to A Second Look. In this video, I'm going to look at three newcomers to MLS, Luis Amarilla, Robert Beric, and Adam Buksa, and give a quick breakdown on their styles of play based on the first two games of the season. I'm going to start with Adam Buksa of the New England Revolution. Buksa plays best as a forward in a 4-4-2, but can play in a 4-5-1. Against Montreal, however, he was left isolated as a lone forward more often and struggled to link up with the midfielders. Buksa is very much a classic center forward and stays central in most situations. The exception is when he makes a run into the channel. Rarely does he do that, however, looking for a pass, but instead is trying to pull a defender and open space for a teammate. He isn't as pacey as some other players, and so isn't as likely to get behind and receive the pass. From just two games, Buksa comes off as an unselfish forward, and one that will create a lot of space for guys like Gustavo Bo, Christian Pinilla, and Teal Bunbury. His height makes him a valuable option in both boxes, as well as a target forward to play off of. The Revolution know they can aim for him when put under pressure, and that he provides a decent chance to win the ball farther upfield. However, he does require other players to play off of his first touch. He isn't a Zlatan Ibrahimovic style forward, where the ball just seems to stick to his touch while defenders bounce off. He is adept at challenging the first ball, but when under pressure, he isn't going to wriggle his way out of danger, taking on multiple defenders. You won't see Buksa trying to get behind the defense. More often than not, he'll either try to come short to receive the pass, post up against a defender, or try to pull a center back out with a run. Buksa isn't especially fast, as I mentioned, but it's his last second movement that helps him catch defenders flat-footed. This is seen on display with his first MLS goal against the Chicago Fire. He starts at the top of the box, and it seems like he's indicating that he wants the ball over Francisco Calvo's head, as the other center back here is drawn out of position. Calvo notices this and starts to drop off, threatened by Buksa's height. But Buksa has begun to run across the Costa Rican, who is now flat-footed. This might be one of the best first touches you'll ever see in MLS, as he knocks it down at full speed behind Calvo, spins around him, and curls it with his favored left foot. That left foot is a real weapon for Buksa, who likes to cut the ball backwards to set up curling shots and big switches of play to the left wing. He has shown in just two games to be a threat from range as well. Operating in that pocket in front of the defense, he can combine with quick touches while under pressure, but given enough space, he isn't afraid to push the ball out and go for goal. We got another chance to see Buksa during MLS's back, and we got to see him against Montreal a second time, this time with either Gustavo Bo or Carlos Gil playing much closer to him. While he didn't score, he and New England were much more effective and pinned the Impact defense back for most of the match. This is when he can be the most effective, when he has other players matching up with him. Now let's look at Minnesota United's newest striker, Luis Amarilla. Amarilla is the most different of the three forwards on display today. While the other two are closer to a classic center forward, Amarilla plays in somewhat of a hybrid role. Smaller than Beric or Buksa, Amarilla relies more on his pace and dribbling ability to link play up. To combat the size difference against larger defenders, Amarilla will drift wide, moving into the channel in hopes of drawing a center back out in a 1v1. More than the other two, Amarilla wants to take on his man on the dribble, preferring to cut onto his favored right foot to get a shot off. Part of the freedom in Amarilla's role comes from the players around him making forward runs. Unlike Robert Beric or Adam Buksa, who are usually the farthest forward on their team, Amarilla will drop into the midfield or drift wide, allowing players like Kevin Molino and Ethan Finley to make overlapping runs into the box. The center backs now will have to decide whether to track the oncoming runs, leaving Amarilla unmarked, or follow Amarilla and hope a fullback or midfielder tracks the other deep runs. The most interesting thing about Amarilla is how his movement affects how Minnesota plays. Sometimes he drops so deep that it looks like Minnesota's front three is spearheaded by Kevin Molino. Other times he'll drift wide, and as a result, Ethan Finley or Kevin Molino will move into the supporting striker role, while Robin Lod and the other attacking player then tucks inside into something closer to a 4-2-2-2. This freedom of movement is what made Minnesota such high scorers in the early part of the season. As a center forward, Amarilla does still spend time in that central role still, but it often puts him into physical battles with defenders and midfielders. Amarilla, as opposed to Beric and Buksa, doesn't have the same physical attributes to hold up play, so instead must play quick 1- and 2-touch plays. In the opponent's box, Amarilla is a similar player. He is smart with his movement to put off defenders and get himself into small openings. He is less likely to make the unselfish near post run, but instead is more likely to be an option for a cutback or a back post cross. His movement on this goal against Portland was a great example of how Amarilla uses his speed and his cleverness to create space. Laris Mabiala tries to mark him tight in a 1v1 in the box, and Amarilla now feints a dash across the defender, a common run for a forward to make, and as the ball comes in, he actually drops off, creating just a yard of space so that Mabiala can't head away, as the ball floats over him and Amarilla has the uncontested header. Finally, let's look at Robert Beric of the Chicago Fire. Chicago's 4-5-1 means Beric is the most isolated of the three forwards we'll look at today. He's often alone up front, as all 5 midfielders have defensive duties to attend to. The result is that he often plays more centrally, but is inclined to drift wide into the channels and get into 1v1s with one of the center backs in the half space. Buksa is a pure target forward, while Amarilla is the most mobile, but Beric can do it all. He holds up play for his teammates and can isolate himself and go 1v1 if support doesn't come. This is of course situational. If a midfielder has space to run at the defense, Beric will move wide and be an option and not clog space. Like Buksa, however, he does enjoy a physical battle, and is good at putting his body between the defender and the ball. He uses his physicality not only to lay the ball off for oncoming runs, but also to turn defenders. Though he's 6'2", Beric is very comfortable on the ball, which is one of the reasons he likes to drift out wide and take on men on the dribble. Beric, unlike Buksa, is willing to run behind the defense, playing off of the shoulder of the last defender, but his attention is almost never to latch onto the long ball unless he's in a wide position. As seen in his goal, he begins to drift behind the defense, initially in hopes that the ball goes on a diagonal for a winger, who would then have an easy crossing opportunity to square it to Beric, who is now goal side. It doesn't exactly work like that, but it does end up putting him into a position where he can latch onto this loose ball and hammer it home. Of the 3 forwards in this video, Beric is the most versatile. Buksa and Amarilla aren't the focus of the team's attack, while Beric is the man for Chicago, so it's likely that most plays will go through him. He demands the ball, and once Beric gets it, he isn't quick to get rid of it. Part of what makes him so dangerous is that when Beric does get the ball, he's looking for a positive move, whether that's running at a defender, flicking it for an oncoming run, finding an open cross, or just going for goal. Beric is positive in most of his possessions with the ball.